Hi, good morning, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 61 episode of Let's Talk About Market. So, if we see in today's trading session, the Nifty index did bounce back, and finally, it has respected the support of 25,700. So, what next from here? Let's quickly get started. Uh, Meanwhile, please, if someone can confirm if they are able to hear me properly and if they are able to see my screen. If they can just put it in the chat box, it will be great. We can get started then. Are you able to hear me properly? Yeah. Please, if someone can, confirm in the chat box. Okay. Thanks, Vishnu. Yeah. So see, this is where we are on the Nifty index. So if you remember, we had spoken about the gap area over here, which was there, right? And apart from that, it is the 40-day exponential average and the lower band. So everything were coinciding around this zone of 25,800 to 25,700. And, today during the day, the Nifty index did threaten to break below 25, 700 or so, but it did not happen. And if you remember, yesterday only we had spoken about how the put writers are not they had not unwinded their position despite Fed meet was there and so on. So yes, broadly it was a good area from where the potential reversal could happen. Also, if you see the sentiment indicator, the proprietary daily swing that we have, that was also towards the lower end of the range. Average swing was also towards the lower end of the range, and from there somewhere we were expecting a pullback to occur, right? So far the pullback has occurred. That's the good news. Now, we can say the bad news, or something that we need to watch very closely, is how the Nifty index behaves over here. Okay, because here you can see now the 40R and the lower band are almost coming to around the same point. As one or two candle converge more, and if the Nifty index is not able to break on the upside, then probably we'll have a scenario of something like this, where this is the average and this is the band, and both of them will come towards the same point. And typically when that happens, it is not usually an easy break on the upside. So there can be two things can happen. So from that zone, either we go up, we go down, or after that, there is some consolidation, and after that consolidation it breaks on the upside, so that even band starts widening by then. So what is going to happen, let's see. So fingers crossed, and let's see how things unfold. The heartening part is that if you see the Nifty mid cap index, it is, I think, mid CNX mid cap. So over here, if you see the daily chart, it seems to be bouncing back. The in all these indices, what is happening is that the 40R exponential average, it is still trading below that. Okay, so somewhere this hurdle initially needs to be broken on the upside. Now see, for all those people who are anticipating a reversal kab hoga, ideally it is when on the weekly chart both the averages are broken on the upside. That is where, in case of Nifty mid cap index, that is the case. But if you see Nifty small cap index, I mean, ideally this zone needs to be broken out on the upside decisively, and by then RMI should also give a bullish crossover. I think once these two things happen, that's where, from a medium term perspective, somewhere confidently we should be able to, think that now an up move can happen. But as of now, that is not visible. In fact, we'll have to go step by step, which means that on the hourly chart, first it needs to break and sustain above the averages. Second, on the daily chart, after that, daily averages will kind of become a resistance level on the upside. and then these daily averages needs to be broken on the upside. And once it breaks on the upside, then that is where monthly is where we'll start looking at, sorry, weekly is where we'll start looking at. And for any medium term reversal to happen, like you can see over here, right, there was a breakdown, there was a pullback. Okay, but this important weekly averages did not break, in fact, over here as well, and it fell. So whenever it is trending down or it is going to trend down, usually the averages won't break on the upside. So that is what we need to see it from a medium term perspective. But in the short term, is there a possibility that the nifty index, I mean the small cap index, bounces back towards the averages? Yes, very much possible. So at least a pullback towards this daily averages is very much possible, and that cannot be ruled out. But what it does over here is very important. Okay, similar case will be for the micro cap index as well, where over here the daily averages, this will act as a very very important support level on the downside, sorry, the resistance level on the upside. And these two important averages needs to be broken on the upside decisively for us to think of some sort of reversal. And the ultimate reversal level will be these two averages on the weekly chart breaking on the upside. Okay, so that is how where we are at. So as of now, as we speak, it is the 40 hour where we initially need to see if it breaks and sustains above that, because if that happens, then that will be first sign of reversal. And then daily and weekly breaking on the upside will further give us the confirmation. So that is where we are at. And in fact, as see, to be very honest, if you ask me what should ideally happen, I would anticipate that at some point, we end up seeing this. That is because a lot of sentiment indicators which we track from a medium to long term perspective, those are all kind of indicating that we are at an extreme, and that too on the downside, right? So just for example, client plus fi, whenever it is below this line, typically we have ended up getting a meaningful bottom, right? It was over here. And typically these trend last for a meaningful period of time. It is frankly after this Trump has come, and after this tariff thing, it has sustained below for a very long period of time. Else, if you see in the past, this was the case. When it used to come to that second line, bottom used to occur and we used to get very good moves on the upside. This was the case over here as well, over here as well, right? But somehow I don't know if something is changing materially now, and for which is there a range shift that is happening. I'm not sure about that, but nevertheless, the sentiment seems to be towards the extreme side. And even for a moment, if I exclude the absolute numbers, even when I see the FI's long percentage, right, this has been at lower levels probably since July. Okay, there was a bit of a covering that we had seen in October, but again, it is towards the lower level. And if you scroll back and see, you will never see this ratios, I mean the long percentage sustaining at lower level for a very long period of time. So at some point of time, it's, I mean, we are going to see the short covering rally. The only point is that is it from here or we correct and then we see. I mean, that is the whole point that we are trying to figure out at this point of time. So as I had mentioned, right, for the Nifty index specifically, so for Nifty, basically the low that we have now made, which is around the 25,700 mark, I mean, that becomes an extremely important support level in the near term. Okay. If this is broken decisively on the downside, then I would expect then probably, somewhere around 25 300 to even 24 500, so these kind of levels will open up on the downside. Now whether it will happen or not, I don't know, but we will have to be open to that risk. if at all 25,700 gets broken on the upside. And my best case is that I'm hoping that this happens, but need some evidence, which is that if there is a closing above this all-time high of 25,600, then I think we are speaking of upside levels of almost around 28 300 to 30,000 kind of level from a medium term perspective. Okay, because and what will lead to that, it is basically all the short covering which is there, and in fact a 1 year kind of consolidation which has sort of translated into this cup and handle pattern. So I think eventually this pattern will break out on the upside, and that's where we will be able to get those levels. I mean, in terms of saying that 30,000 and so on, it might look like a very big figure, but it is like a 12-15% kind of rally, which normally also we have seen whenever the FIS positioning have been extremely short, right? I mean, just to give you a context, I mean, I have repeated this n number of times earlier, but I'm not sure how many new audiences we end up joining. I mean, in this live session, so you can see over here, extreme reading from year to year, we saw a move of around 20%, right? From year again, we saw a move till year. Okay, that was around 12-13%. Over here, again from low to high, 18%. Here, this low from year to year, again 18% approx. Right? This was again at the election day, where those result was not on expected line. Around that time, also 14-15%. Even after this tariff happened and we saw a move, it was around 15-16%. So on an average you can say that 12 to 15% is a very reasonable level to expect on the upside. And I think once this technical level of 26,300 is broken on the upside, I think I I somehow feel that the short covering rally that we are trying to anticipate for a very, very long time, I think that should unfold, and eventually we should be able to see those upside levels. And once that happens, I think the breadth, which I have also discussed, which is at a very lower level right now, at depressed level. I think these are all things that should turn around. Okay, and see, to be very frank, I mean, finding out stocks and all is difficult at this point of time. So that's where either you can go to the scanners, or you can also look to go to RRG. And depending on what stock or indices you're seeing, so say for example nifty 50. Now I was just trying to think today in the morning that which are the stocks that can lead the nifty index on the upside. And I could see that there is this IT which is there. I mean, all the stocks are in a leading quadrant. Some have started to see some loss in momentum, but then there is few other stocks which are there. So all the stocks basically which are gaining momentum as well as relative strength, I mean, those can be the ones that could be possibly on your focus list. And you can try to find some opportunity over there. Apart from that, for all those guys who are new to this, RMI setup, I think, is one of the best ways. So I was trying to find some stocks today where those turnarounds are even more evident. I think we had spoken about this, right? A couple of days back. I think data metrics or something was there. So over here, if you see, on the weekly chart, it is coming towards the 40 week and so on. So there were some interesting names that had popped up into this list, but you can do a little bit more work and see what are the kind of stocks that fits your bill, and where you can find it useful. Okay, so I think that is there. And apart from that, if you see the positioning for the nifty index as well, and at this point of time we are in a very tight range. Okay, and you can see that today a lot of writing was done on 27. So let me just put a combined Y, and you can still see that 26,000 has a meaningful open interest, right? So It is basically 25,000. I think there is a huge build up that we have seen today. Uh, but yeah, I mean, you can see all this red bars on the downside, right? So the point being that I mean, the bulls might not easily give up, and there will surely be a battle. And I think in the upside, in the near term, 26,000 is where the important resistance is. And if you see the closing today in the futures, it is at 26,014. So it needs to sustain about 26,000 level. If that happens, then we can probably expect some bit of unwinding. So already today a little bit of unwinding has happened in 26,000 call. We need to see that more for it to break on the upside. So simply for the Nifty index in the near term, if you ask me, first is the break and sustaining about this hourly averages. That is very important. And the other thing I think that we had also discussed was that it is in a channel, right? So this channel becomes an important important levels on the upside to watch out for. So right now that channel has now moved lower to somewhere around 26,080. And if I have to just put a Fibonacci level, and what is the 61.8, so that is also somewhere around 26,080. So I think 26,080 is where even the upper end of the channel coincides, and that's where the 61.8% retracement level is also at. So let's see how things unfold. And basically, I am expecting that eventually we should break out on the upside. But I think for that, the 61.8% retracement level and this channel, they both should break on the upside. So you can say that broadly on the upside, 26,050 to 26,100 is where the major resistance is. And on the downside, somewhere around 25,800 to 25,700 is where the important support is. I think either side, we don't have a break. I mean, until this major range doesn't break out on the upside or on the downside, we might just end up hovering between this zone. And also, I would say that watch out for India VIX as well. I mean, the good part is that despite all the fall and all that we have seen recently, India VIX is not rising. So that is telling us that the fear is not there much among the participants. But yes, I mean, if India VIX say starts trading about 12 or so, and especially on the up days, okay, please note this. Especially on the up days, if there is a rise in VIX, then you need to be a little careful, okay, because typically that is the sign that now people are expecting the volatility to rise. Usually when the market rises, there is stability, right? So why is it that the VIX is rising even when the market is rising is something that we need to question. And then we have to dig the deeper we have to dig the data even deeper and see if are there any red flags that are visible or no. So as of now, as I mentioned, I mean, the important support level of 25,700 which was there, that has been respected. Now what we would want to see is a break about 26,100 broadly. If that happens, then we can probably say that this correction, minor correction in the Nifty index is complete. And probably the carnage that we have seen in mid, small, and micro cap stocks, that should then mean revert, and maybe we can end up getting some good moves over there. So that is how I am thinking about this at this point of time. I mean, if you all have any different view, of course with a reasoning, then please please do share. uh, I mean, it is always good to hear the counter arguments. It would even help me think in a more better and a rational way. If at all, I am biased. So at this point of time, like I told you, looking at the data, it seems like on the upside, 26,000 to 26,100 is an important resistance level. And at some point, I think this range will break. Now whether it breaks on the upside or downside is something that we need to watch out. uh, so is there any alert system in Strike? No, as of now it's not there. Srinivas says that even though DIs are buying continuously, the market is going down as the FIs are continuously selling. Why is that the market eh, goes down in spite of does FI? No, so it's not that. I mean, no, it's not like that. That see, for always for every buyer there is a seller, right? So you can't look at it that way. But all you can say is that broadly the components in the Nifty index are also not performing that great. I mean, if you see, Reliance, HDFC, they are all stuck in a range, right? And these are the heavyweight guys, which eventually need to which will have to lift the market higher, and that is not happening. In fact, if you see the one of the other important indexes, FMCG, even that is dead, and that is in a range right now, as you can see. So somewhere, some pickup has to happen, or some leadership has to happen somewhere for the Nifty index to move higher, right? I mean, it cannot happen that the stocks keep falling and the index rises higher, right? So I mean, right now we are seeing rotation happening. I don't know how long will it last and how long will they save the market from going down, but at some point of time you would need a broader participation for the market to rise higher. So that's what the hope is, that if 26,100 breaks on the upside, ultimately 26,300 should lead to break of that level as well. And I think once 26,300 breaks, that's where I think, a lot of pessimism which is there, that will, I mean, they will really reflect on their thinking, and maybe I think, that might end up leading to some very good short covering rally as well. So yes, that's how I'm thinking at this point of time. Let's see how things unfold. Any other questions? If you'll have, please shoot it. We have some time to take the Q&A, if at all there is any. I don't know, when we used to do at 11 a.m., there used to be a lot of questions. Surprisingly, there are not much questions when we are doing it at 5 a.m. I mean 5 p.m. What next for Nifty? And that is what I was speaking for last 10-15 minutes. To sum it up, 26,100 on the upside is a resistance level, 25,700 on the downside is support level. Right now, expecting it to be in this range. Once this range breaks on either side, we should get a trending move. If you ask me which way the trend should break, I mean, which way the range should break, I would expect on the upside. So, yes, that is the brief summary of your question for what next on Nifty. Srinivas waiting for strike app. Yes, we are building that. We have made some good progress as well. So far it is going in the right direction, I would say. Any other questions? Okay, I'll wait for a couple of more minutes if there are any questions. No, Saranjan, as of now, no. But there is so a lot of things are getting worked on simultaneously. I think in at least, I don't know. I mean, in few time, I don't know how many weeks. Please don't ask me. But you should be able to see a lot of new things, because even the custom indicators that we were talking about, we have started to work on those stuff as well. And I mean, I have been testing some of them personally, and I think we are making a good progress on that. So So let's see. Hopefully soon is all I can say. Any other questions? Fine. I think I can't see any other questions. So let's wind up the session for today, and let's catch up tomorrow. And tomorrow we'll have a weekly closing as well. So let's see. I mean, if we get any, uh, interesting stuff. Because the reason why I'm saying weekly would be interesting to see. That is because if we see many of the index like small caps and so on, I mean, if we end up getting a positive weekly close, amidst all this, then it would be great. I mean, for it to close positive, it has to go up tomorrow by 1.6%. Let's see whether it does or no. It would be interesting to see the weekly close. In fact, even micro cap. So for microcap to give a positive weekly close, it has to go up just by 0.65%. I mean, I'm saying just, but yes, I mean, broadly, the setup over there was of this channel, right? And from there, I mean, giving a positive weekly close will mean that, maybe some kind of bottom could be made over here. But again, let's see. Let's see tomorrow what happens. I think there was some question. Are some big FIs are going out? I don't know. I mean, we are seeing the flows that they are in negative now, whether they're going out or no. I mean, whether those are big FIs that are going out or no, I don't know. View on defense sector. Hmm, defense sector. Uh, See, where when we look at the chart, all I would say, Abhishek, is that look out for the stocks where the setups are that they are above the daily and the weekly averages. If that is happening, they are strong. If that is not happening, they are weak. If you see in many of the defense sectors and defense stocks, most of them were PSUs as well. They are breaking above the daily. I mean, they had broken daily averages long back, and now even weekly averages are being challenged or even broken. So be careful over there, and I mean, do a very bottom up approach. I mean, see, this is not a market now where you can take a sector call or something, and you buy that sector and you will make money. uh, it is probably a little more bottom up now, that it is gonna get. So focus on each chart. We have discussed in length about the setups that we need to look out for, right? Trading about the averages, daily, weekly averages. If you ask me which average, 20 and 40 period. Okay, daily 20 and 40, and weekly daily and 40 exponential. You know, if you follow this setup, I think you should be able to do away with the pitfalls, especially if you're a momentum trader. Okay, I mean, those are the kinds of setup that you would want to look at. So so yeah, I mean, just view those stocks individually. At this point of time, like I told you, don't go for a sector as such, because all are, I mean, they are not giving good signs, frankly. I mean, that is why we are not even discussing sectors right now, because none of them are like giving a table thumping opportunity as such. It's all boiling down to stocks. So, yes, let's wind up the day for today, and let's catch up tomorrow at 5 p.m. Thank you.